Hi guys, and welcome to this video. In today's video I want to give some proper review of my electric car that I finished 2 years ago. And if you are not familiar with this car, I made the electric conversion of my e39 520. This is one of the most reliable and one of the most beautiful car that BMW ever made. And design and the beauty of this car after 25 years is astonishing. And now I finally made 20,000 kilometers. And I want to speak a little bit about the reliability. It's not just a challenge to make a conversion of this kind of car, but it is also a challenge to make a car that will serve well and that will be reliable. And this is the most important thing when you're making a conversion. If you're not putting enough effort in some details, and then you will have the problems in later usability. And in these 20,000 kilometers, I didn't have an issue. The car is very reliable. I'm very happy with it. It is very fun to drive. I'm driving this car every day and it is a real working horse. And what about the maintenance? The motor, the powertrain doesn't have any maintenance. There is no oil change. There is no 1,000 parts as in fossil fuel engines that can go wrong. The electric motor is very simple. Of course, you have to change the brakes, arms, and this other stuff. I upgraded the brakes from 530i, and completely front and the rear subframe are new. All new control arms, bushings, new suspension, even the new steering rack. And now I want to talk a little bit about the power consumption. This car consumes about 23 kilowatt-hour electricity per 100 kilometers. But when you calculate the charging losses, they are between 10 and 15%. Then you can roughly round the power consumption on 25 kilowatt-hour per 100 kilometer. And that means that here in Croatia, this 25 kilowatt-hour cost charging at 9 approximately €1.5. And you can drive this car for €1.5 per 100 kilometers. And for this 20,000 kilometers, I spent around 5,000 kilowatt-hour of electricity. That means around roughly between 300 and 350 euro. But now with my 8 kilowatt solar power plant, I'm driving literally on the sun energy. That means completely free. I started this conversion about 4 years ago, and then I bought the Tesla 9 modules of Tesla. This is 47 kilowatt-hour of energy. 3 modules are in front and 6 modules are in back. The life of a Tesla battery are rated between 12 and 1500 cycles of charging. That means the full cycle charging. And if you are charging between 30 and 80%, this is not a full cycle, this is the half cycle. And with these conditions of usability, they can last more than 10,000 cycles. And this battery can overlive the car lifetime. The motor is Warp 11. This is the electric DC motor with the brushes. I checked the brushes after 20,000 kilometers. The brushes are not spent at all, maybe slightly, but I didn't notice the difference. This motor can deliver up to 300 horsepower shortly, but I'm using it now only with 140 kilowatt. 140 kilowatt is enough for daily drive. The car is much stronger than it was before. It is stronger than 530 diesel. You can compare the power with E60 530 diesel. The maximum speed is around 170 kilometers. And the maximum range per single charge is around 200 kilometers, 220 kilometers. Not the highway speed, just open road with no hills. And this car is not meant for long distance driving, it is for a local. In the 99% I have no problem with range driving this car for my personal local daily needs. The car is completely painted and protected from downside, so I can say the car is completely new. I replaced the seats, the door panels with the black one. The interior was silver. I don't like the silver interior car, so I replaced it, not completely, not the carpets. I have 2 chargers. One is single phase that I'm charging it every day, and the power is 1.6 kilowatt, and this is enough for my daily use when the car was charged at night. But now with my new solar power plant, I completely changed the way that I'm charging the car. Before I was charging at night, and now I'm charging at day. I'm charging it every day, how much I spend, so that every day I have a fully charged car. I'm charging it approximately 90%. This is how I set the charger, not to charge the 100% of the battery for a longer durability. I have a manual transmission. The motor is connected with the gearbox, with the clutch. It has the clutch and the flywheel like the car has before with the fossil engine. The gearbox is from E46 Cube 328 because it has a bigger flywheel and clutch, so it can handle more torque and power. And with this I had to change the drive shaft and the shifter. This is not fitting from the previous. I need to find from 528. The first gear is not even usable because the motor has enough torque to move the car in a hill from the second gear. If I totally removed the gearbox, that won't be good enough because it is difficult to move the car from a fifth gear. The RPM of this motor is only 4,500. It's not 16,000 as in Tesla or in some other AC motors. And in the meantime, I changed the differential as well. This differential from 528 fits perfectly with this gear ratio. And for controller, I have Z1K. This is a 1000 amps controller up to 300 volts. I'm using only 220 volts. And now I will show you under the hood. This is the electrical oil steering wheel pump, and this is the expansion for the Webasto heating. I have a Webasto heating, and this is the tank that I'm using for heating at winter, because for a proper heating you need around 5 kilowatt power of heating. This is too much for an electrical heating. This is a vacuum pump for braking. This is the diode for the second charger that I'm using. And for charging, I'm using the Type 2. I can use it directly with the cable on the public charging stations. And when this door is open, the car is not movable. This is the switch that when you press, then the car is movable. And when you release it, when you open the gate, then the car is not movable. This whole socket is 3D printed and adjustable as this car. I lost a lot of time for designing this and doing this, and also programming. Arduino is controlling this LED, and the red light is moving in circles so you can see the state of charge. The Arduino can read the high voltage battery with the voltage divider, so you can see directly state of charge. And this is all my design and my development. And for a second charger, I have 4 Delta power supplies that are connected in series to get to 120 volts. This is the approximately power of 7 kilowatts. And these 4 chargers are in the place where the gas tank was. Here are the batteries. Here is the junction box with the fuse. And here is the disconnection switch between front and rear battery. And here I made the safety switch. This is required for the technical inspection. These seats are now heated, so I installed the electrical heating. Here I have the voltage indicator, the amps and the kilowatt hour, temperature of controller and isolation, and also the state of charge of the battery. I want to switch the car. I just made here, and now the car is on. Now you can hear the motor fan, but when you are driving, then you hear nothing. Then you have 2 sets of power. Now I have eco mode and sport mode. Then you can adjust the controller with 2 different sets of power. And everything is integrated. I don't have any extra switches. For a heating, for a Webasto heating, I just press this button, and here I have the Webasto temperature. When the temperature reaches 58 Celsius, then you have 50% reduction of power. And now I will turn it off. Now it's off. And the air conditioning is working as well, because the compressor is connected with the drivetrain from the front side with the belt. Fuel time gauge is showing the state of the charge of the battery. It's not 100% correctly, but it is around 90% correct. And this temperature is showing also the temperature of the Webasto heating, the water heating. And this RPM cluster gauge is showing now amps. 1 is 100 amps, 2 is 200 amps, 3 is 300 amps. When you outreach the 450 amps, then the cluster gauge is collapsed. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. The rear camera is working as well. This Arduino is also working with the battery cooling and battery heating, and I wrote the program for battery cooling and battery heating. And now let's go to the drive. The car is now fully charged and it is ready to run. It is enough, only 5-6 kilowatt, to maintain the speed of 60 km per hour. And now I release the full power on the motor. It doesn't look any spectacular because of the speed limit, and it was shortly. And the most important things that you want to know is the price. Yes, the price. I spent around 1,000 hours working and it cost me around 20,000 euro. Actually close to 21, of course with the car. Maybe you think I'm stupid because this is a lot of the money, but I have some auxiliary benefits. I learned a lot, I tested my skills, I found a company, met a lot of new people, and the car was a couple of times in the magazines, and even once in a national magazine. And if you like this kind of the content, make sure you subscribe, check out the merchandise, and see you all in the next video.